Welcome back, everybody. This is part 2, where we continue the functionality of the click game. So there are things that I want to do. I want to, what does it say here? Change the score, change the box position, change the box height and width, change the box color. Now that we've done that, we're going to need to get some randomization into our program. Now, code.org has already written something for us called, I think, random number. I think that's in the math. So here's a random number, right? You can see it has a value preset, kind of 1 and 10. That's so you don't mess up. But I'm going to show you kind of what this item is made of. And so we're going to name our own get random integer, or get random int is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to remake the random number function. Like I could just drop this in here and you know, there. But I want you guys to understand a couple of things about how functions work. So first, function. I'm going to call this get random int. So first off, JavaScript has a naming convention called camel case. The naming convention that I personally have is all functions are verbs or action statements. So this get random int means get random integer. It's an action, right? Rather than calling it random number, something like that. I mean, I know what the random number function does, but I name my functions as action statements because that's what functions do. They're actions versus variables, which just store information. They're kind of static. They, don't really do anything. So, and that's because I had an experience where I named both a variable and a function the same name, and it screwed everything up. I'm going to establish here what are called parameters. Min, comma, max. Now in JavaScript, there is a way that you can set these to have a default value, but code.org does not allow us to do that. First off, I'm going to drop a doc block on top of this guy. So this is telling us what this function is doing, right? So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to take these two parameters, min, which is a number, max, which is a number. Next thing we're going to do is determine if min and max have been given a value and have set default values. So first thing, this line 1 here, right? If they've been given a value, well, how do I know if they've been given a value? I can check them for their value. I happen to know that if getRandomInt is passed with no arguments, that would be the values set here, and we'll see that in a minute. If getRandomInt is not passed with any sort of argument, it will fail because min will be what's called undefined and max will be what's called undefined. So I'm going to check for that condition. Alrighty, if min actually is equal to undefined. So see how that becomes blue? That's a data type right there. And then I'm going to check or max, because we can't do this without both of them, is equal to undefined. I'm then going to turn around and give min and max values. I'm going to just say min equals 1, and then max equals 100. So that's going to allow me to, like, when the program is running, it's going to allow me to call this and just have it automatically 1 and 100. I think here code.org has their min-max numbers as 1 and 10. That's their default values. And if you were to delete 10, it wouldn't work. If either of these are undefined, min's going to get the value of 1, max is going to get the value of 100. Line number 1, determine if max and min have been given values, and if not, set default values. process the numerical values. So here we go. Math.round. So we're going to use what's called the keyword return. And we haven't learned about this yet in code.org. In fact, it's in Unit 7. But the nice thing about return, I love return because basically it's saying, hey, get random int, give me a random number between this, and then it returns a value. So it would be as if I asked you, hey, student, would you give me a random number between 1 and 100? And you reply with 73, that's a return. So we're going to do some math here. So math.round. And math.round basically will take whatever number, whatever decimal value is in here and round it up to the nearest whole number. So see how it has that little X in there? If I did like 0.3, it would give me, 0 because 0 is the closest whole number to 0.3. So math.round rounds to the nearest whole number. Math.random. So inside of this set of parentheses, there is expected to be a numeric value, probably with a decimal in order to be rounded up or down. Math.random is a JavaScript function that gives you a value from 0 to almost 1. Not exactly 1, but almost 1. In order to get larger values than 0 or 1, we need to multiply. We need to multiply the value generated by math.random with the max minus min. If you have questions about the math, we can discuss that later. Suffice it to say, this formula works. All the way on the outside, plus min. So what this does is it allows us to calculate a value that is basically from 1 to 100 or whatever minimum value, maximum value that we set, and send it back to where it was called. So like when I go up top and I say, hey, I want to change the box position, I can get that random number. It would bring it back to me, and then I could set the variable that I'm going to use for that to that value, whatever that random value is. All right, so now it's like, hey, get random int is defined but not called in your program. That's okay, we're going to call it right now. We're going to get a random value for our height and our width. So I'm going to, again, set some local variables, and I'm going to say b width equals, and I'll use my get random int. I'm going to pass it 10, 60. That way the box is not too big, it never gets too small. Command C, I'm just going to copy this and change it, Command V, because it's almost exactly the same. I'm going to change this from B width to B height. So now I'm going to set the width of the box and the height of the box. I can test this by using set size. Yep. So if I just click on this guy, see, you can see ID, width, height. So those are the parameters. ID is going to be our click box. The value is going to be B width. That stands for box width. And the other thing is going to be our B height. Let's run. I'm going to hit play. And when I click on this, it changes the size. It sure does. Yay. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. But it doesn't change the position. We haven't gotten there yet, and that's okay. So set size basically allows us to change the size of our box, and that's a good test. So this is the end of part 2. You can see how random values get generated and then stored in variables, which can then be used to set the values. This is what a variable does. It stores value to be used or recalled whenever we need it. If we need to update or change its value, we can do that too. Anyway, I hope this was fun and informative. Happy coding, everyone. See you in the next video.